We like the new BMW R12 G/S, and I like it because it looks like a big old boxer engine enduro bike. But how hard can you actually go off-road? We've come here to BMW's Off-Road Skills School in South Wales. It's the home of doing bad things on BMW GSs. If you want to improve your off-road skills, it's a fantastic place to come. If you've never ridden off-road and you want to take your first steps into off-road riding on bigger bikes, these guys know what they're talking about. It's an amazing place with a really good off-road facility to come in and put some good miles under the wheels off-road and get some proper off-road training. On top of that, they've got a fleet of 1300 GSs and you'll get the best off-road test ride you've ever imagined. If you've ever been go-karting and they tell you off for going a bit quick or touching a barrier, it's not like that here. They actively encourage you to do steep hills, not outside of your comfort zone, but push you as far as they think you're safe to go, and you'll get a proper good 2 days riding. That's not why we've come. We've come because they've got one of these, and the instructors have been riding it as an instructor bike all year, and a few of my mates have said it's properly good fun. And I want to put that to the test. I want to take this thing up to the off-road site and push it as hard as we can and see just how much of that enduro look is actually there in terms of performance. Now there's a few reasons that I am quite keen on this R12 G/S. One is I quite like the simplicity. It's a big boxer engine, which I love, but it's the old school air-cooled one, which is one of my favorite engines. It's pretty stripped down. There's no big fairings. There's no fancy adjustable screens. It's a very stripped back bike. And it's got a lot of, on paper at least, enduro potential. You can get an 18-inch rear wheel and a 21-inch front wheel, which this has. It's got 200 mil of suspension travel, a little bit more at one end than the other, but it's got proper suspension travel. It's got decent ground clearance. It's got big foot pegs, big wide bars. It's got the makings of a good off-road bike, but with a big engine that can carry you miles and miles in a day. Now, the other reason it's piqued my interest is because it makes me think of two kind of cult bikes from history. One is the one it hints at in the name. It's the original R80 G/S. That is one of my favorite bikes. It's got a boxer engine, a trialsy feel to it, and I just love riding them. I've got a sort of hodgepodge version of my own. I've got friends that have got original ones. They've got a bit of a hipster cult following at the moment, which is a problem because it's pushed all the prices up and there's loads of restored, immaculate clean ones on the market. But if you can find a tatty one, they make a fabulous trail riding bike for the UK and you can cover big distance. Now, the other bike this makes me think of is that thing over there, BMW's HP2 Enduro. If you missed it when it came out, it was mental. It made no sense. And to be honest, they really struggled to sell them. It was BMW's 1200cc air-cooled engine with a bit of breathing on in an ostensibly enduro chassis. It wasn't a road bike that was made to look like an enduro bike. It was a competition bike. It was tall. It was very uncompromising. It was incredibly light, considerably lighter than that thing. But it was also pretty hard work if you were a novice off-road rider. It had a tendency to be a bit flighty on the front end on the tarmac. It was insanely expensive at the time, and now they've become a rare unicorn bike. The prices have gone absolutely insane. A mint HP2 Enduro now will fetch in the region of £20,000, which is a lot of money, especially if you actually want to use it off-road. But this isn't a HP2 Enduro. This is an adventure road bike turned into an enduro bike. This thing's got modern suspension, modern brakes. It's easy to ride. It's got rider aids that do more than just tick a box on a spec sheet. It's got good traction control, good ABS, good off-road ABS. So to use it as a long distance trail bike and something that looks cool and you can have some fun on it, this is arguably a much better bet than the HP2. But I do want to find out just how hard it can go off-road before we start to see things damaging it and it runs out of suspension travel. I'm going to suit up, we're going to head to the off-road site and go crazy. This is a bike I've been excited to ride for a very long time. It looks as cool as you like, and on paper there's some decent specs about it. It's got the Enduro Pro package on this one, which means you get a 21-inch front wheel, 18-inch rear wheel, which gives you a decent... Ooh, a log. Better go over that. As I was saying, 21-inch front wheel, 18-inch rear wheel, which gives you a decent choice of off-road tyres. The rear is still quite a wide rim, so we're not talking full competition enduro tyres here, but at least it's a step in the right direction. 200mm of travel, slightly more travel one end than the other, but yeah, good length suspension travel. Decent ground clearance. On paper, they've made a very, very good attempt at creating us a big twin-cylinder adventure bike. Well, more than that, a twin-cylinder enduro bike. But the one hang-up that you see when you look at the specs is that weight. It's 220-something kilos. It depends exactly on which spec you go for and what you call a full tank, but that's not light. That's a fair amount of bike. And I think when people saw this was coming, there was a lot of hope for less weight than that and a more HP2-y, dare I say it? Oh, I knew I was going to do that. Do I commit and hope there's no more trees down? I can see another tree down. Damn it. And the weight's not a problem until you go full Chris and have to pull it backwards up a hill. That said, tractable engine and pretty well balanced. I mean, you do get away with a fair amount. Should we go down the one I meant to go down? Aha. I've been bombing around off-road today, which again, if you're looking at this hoping it's a HP2 Enduro, it's not. And the use we've put it through today is not what the bike's built for. You know, they call it an enduro pack in the same way that Ducati calls this Desert X Rally a rally bike, which it isn't. It can be used for a rally, but that's a different matter. In the same way that one of these did Romaniacs this year, with a particularly skilled rider on it, but it did Romaniacs and finished. But it's not an enduro bike. It's a jacked up, off-road capable scrambler with a cool engine and enough suspension and protection to do pretty hard off-road, but maybe not the hardest and not with crazy pace. That sums it up pretty nicely. So far, so good. The R12 G/S, it needs a less clumsy name, but it's a really lovely thing to ride. And that sounds like that faint praise you give to someone and say, oh, wonderful personality. But it really is. It's docile. It's got that beautiful boxer twin feel where the revs can drop to even below tick over, and then you open the throttle and it just... which I really like. I'm a big fan of that style of engine. We've been playing on the simpler tracks, and it's not the spiky, super lightweight, aggressive HP2 Enduro that I think certainly the internet wants. I won't lie, there's a fairly large part of me that wants a HP2 Enduro again. That bike was out there, absolutely wild. And for doing what I'm doing today, that bike was so much fun. But the ABS, the super soft clutch, the modern electronic assisted fueling and throttle that makes everything harder to stall and easy to get drive, it does make this bike a piece of cake to ride off-road. But it's time to step away from the nice, typical tracks and ramp it up a bit. So I'm going to chuck these goggles on and send it up this massive chute full of rocks and boulders, and I'll see if I still like it at the top. One thing I've been very grateful for today has been good off-road ABS. I've found a few tricky, sketchy descents where the ABS has saved my bacon. And I'm not saying I would have crashed without it. I'm more thinking it just gave me that extra layer of confidence whoa, to push a bit harder on the way into stuff, knowing that I could, whoa, like that. I could, if I need to, get it stopped without that worry of the front tucking. I'm really impressed with, actually, when you consider what it's for, how capable it is off-road. It's not a HP2. They haven't called it a H number. They haven't called it an enduro bike. They've sold an enduro pack with it, which I think is stretching the enduro world a bit. But when you treat it like a scrambler, it's brilliant. It's super capable. It's got a lovely docile engine. It's fun to ride. And it's taken pretty much everything I've thrown at it today. I love it when you turn in somewhere and you just think, this is a bad idea. And even when you've got the chance to turn back out, you still foolishly drop in. Oh, swampy, swampy, yucky, swampy, steppy. Ugh. Yep, it was a bad idea. I stand by it. I am that person who, when you go for a ride with me, I go, oh, I swear there was a trail here before. Honest. See? Back in civilization-ish. Yes. Yes, the R12 G/Epsilon:. This bike is a very capable off-road bike. The end. Can we go and ride it again now? So what are its limitations off-road? Well, as always, the rider would be the top of that list. Suggest that probably applies to pretty much any bike. A better rider will always get them further. I'd like a little bit more confidence in the front tyre. It's kicked, it's tucked, it's been a little bit nervous in places today. And the limit off-road for me is bike damage with this one. When I started tackling more and more rocky and deeper ruts and gnarlier things, you start dragging the swinging arm along the edge of the rut, you start clipping the cylinder heads on rocks in the banks, you start walloping the sump, and it's got a sump guard on it, but it's mounted on one bracket and two kind of rubber isolation fixings like an exhaust mount. So while it's got a sump guard, it's not one that I'd want to smash into the ground with any force. It's more something that does a good job of the occasional breach when you go over the top of something and keeps the rocks from pinging up off the tyre. But that for me is realistically going to be the limit for this bike off-road, is looking after it, because when it's your own bike, the last thing you want to do is have it on PCP and leave a great big gouge down one side of the shaft drive. Start doing that stuff and you kill the value of the bike and it gets expensive all of a sudden. So for me, that's its limit off-road. Most byways, green lanes and trails around the UK, and certainly the sort of Portuguese Tet, stuff like that, the Spanish Tet, I'd have no hesitation taking this on. It would be an absolute riot. Get to North Wales and those famous gnarly rock step filled byways, you would get this up there, you'd be sweating, and you definitely would start doing some damage to it. So that's about the limit off-road for me, I think. Let's get a couple of things out there first of all. I want to talk about what this bike is not. This bike is not a replacement for the old HP2 Enduro. It might sort of hint like it's going to be, the fact that it's a boxer engine in a conventional fork Enduro-y chassis, but it's not. It's just not as focused, it's not as hardcore, it's heavier, it has more weight to it, it has less travel. It's not that bike. But I don't think that's a bad thing. It's a bad thing for people who want another HP2 Enduro and don't want to pay insane money for a second-hand one. But in terms of people who are actually likely to buy these bikes, I think it's a good thing. The fact that it's a little lower in its suspension travel means it is easier to ride on the road. It means when you grab a handful of brake, you don't dive a mile on the forks. It means you can use it as a normal bike and it's much more capable on 90% of trails and roads. On top of that, you've got a good ABS system. You've got a good traction control package. You've got a quick shifter. Taking this bike and blasting down British country back roads, it will be an absolute riot and in a lot of ways more fun than a HP2 Enduro. Off-road, it's capable. Fire roads, trails, green lanes, 4x4 tracks, it's fantastic down. It's flowy, you can use the torque of that motor, drive it around the corners, power slide out of them. It is a capable off-road bike. It's not about to take the extreme hardcore adventure bike crown off of things like KTM 890 rallies or Yamaha Tenor Race. It's not a replacement for the HP2 Enduro. It's something different, and most importantly, I think it's something way more genuine than the R9T GS Urban that we had a few years back. This does actually genuinely have good off-road capability. It's got big tyres, it's got good ground clearance, it's gonna have the ability to go most of the places you're going to want to go. It's not a HP2 Enduro, but maybe you could make it one.